The number one reason why you're still struggling with acne is because you're stubborn. There are 7 main types of acne, and each of them has a totally different cause and treatment. So if you want to get rid of your acne, instead of buying every possible skincare out there, you will first have to see which of the 7 categories your acne fits into so that you know how exactly you should treat it. And this is exactly what I'm going to show you in this video: how to find your acne's root cause, whether it is internal or external, and how to treat it based on that, because there are several types of acne you can have, and the right treatment will depend on that. And here's just an example. These 3 pictures of acne each have a totally different cause. So obviously, if you want to get rid of them, you will have to use a very different treatment for each of them. And we will get back to this example and discuss it at the end of this video. But until then, let's see what type of acne you have and what exactly you need to use in order to clear your acne. Hi and welcome to Acne from A to Z. I'm a pharmacist, and on this channel I show you how to get rid of your acne by fighting its root cause. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to subscribe and also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram for more daily videos and tips about acne. And if you need some help on identifying your acne's root cause and fighting it from the inside, I invite you to join my course, the Anti-Acne Formula, that will help you do exactly this. If you want to get a little sneak peek of this course, make sure to check my free ebook, which will also be available in the description below. Now here's exactly the things we are going to cover in this video. For the beginning, we will look at the 3 things you need to look for if you want to find your acne's type and your acne's root cause. And after you understand this, we will look at the 7 most important types and discover together what is your acne main category. And like I promised, at the end, we will get back to our initial example, and I will also give you a very similar homework. So if you are ready, let's get into it. When you're trying to identify your acne's type and your acne's root trigger, I would say that there are 3 main elements you should pay attention to. And the first one is your face map, or your acne's position on your face. Now, if you search for the term face map on Google, you're gonna get a lot of very different results that are kind of contradictory if you ask me, so you definitely want to take them with a grain of salt. Because let's be honest, most of those face maps are not very realistic. You can't actually have 15 different positions of acne and each of them would indicate something specific. This is definitely not the real life. So in my opinion, there are mostly 4 locations that your acne can appear into, and they can influence and show you what is actually triggering your acne. Those locations are the lower face, the cheeks together with the forehead alone, and the T-zone. So you want to take a look at your acne and see which of these face locations it resembles most. And I actually have a very detailed video on how to face map your acne correctly. I'm gonna link it below. Make sure to check that out because it's gonna give you a really good insight, and it's gonna bring you a lot of details about face map and how you should analyze your acne's position on face correctly. The second thing you need to pay attention to is your sebum production. And whenever people ask me about this, I always tell them that everyone has a certain amount of sebum in their T-zone, so on the forehead and the nose, sometimes even on the chin, because this area has the highest number of sebaceous glands from the entire face. So a certain amount of sebum is normal there. However, some people tend to have an oilier T-zone than others, which indicates that you can have either an oily skin type or a combination skin type, both of which are more prone to acne. At the same time, a lot of people have sebum all over their face, so also on the cheeks, on the jawline, and on areas where there is usually not such a high amount of sebum. And this is an even better indicator that you have an oily skin type, so you are at risk for certain types of acne. So you want to check your face and see if you mostly have a little bit of sebum on your T-zone, which is kind of normal, or if you have an increased production of sebum, of grease all over your face. And the last indicator of the acne type you might have is the way it reacts to skincare. And this actually can give you a really good clue on whether your acne has an internal or an external cause. And that's because if you apply actives, so things like benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid, retinoids, and ingredients that are generally suitable for acne, if you apply this kind of actives on your acne, there are two possible situations. The first one is that your acne will get better, and this is a really good indicator that your acne's root cause is something external. On the other hand, if this kind of products don't really have a big impact on your pimples, they can mostly dry them out, but you keep breaking out on a regular basis even if you apply this kind of products. In this case, chances are that your acne has an inside cause. So this is why skincare and the local products are not going to have any effect on your pimples, because they are triggered by something internal, and you will have to fix that internal problem for your acne to go away and for you to stop getting new pimples. Now, there are some other things you might be looking into in order to discover what is your acne's trigger, and all of these are things I talk about in detail in my course, the Anti-Acne Formula. It also includes a really detailed quiz that will help you even better find out what type of acne you have and what is its actual trigger. So if you're interested in joining, I'm gonna link this course down below, like I said. So the first type of acne you might be having is hormonal acne, and this form of acne is actually a lot more common in adults than in teenagers, and that's simply because it is caused by a hormonal imbalance. And the good news about this form of acne is that it is super easy to recognize, because it mostly causes pimples that are very cystic, aggressive, that leave marks behind, and that also appear in the lower part of your face. So on the jawline, on the chin, on the neck, around and above the mouth, and also on the lower cheeks. So hormonal acne will never appear on the forehead, on the temples, on the T-zone. These are not areas that it usually affects. Instead, it is very specific to the lower face. Since its cause is something internal, so it is triggered by an internal imbalance, it's kind of obvious that skincare and local products are not going to be pretty effective. This is why they can mostly help dry out your pimples, but they will never prevent any new breakouts. And for this reason, I never recommend counting on skincare if you have hormonal acne. Now, I have another detailed video about the signs and symptoms of hormonal acne, so how exactly you can identify it. I talk more about it in detail there. I'm gonna link that video below. Make sure to check it out. But if you are sure that your acne is hormonal, your goal is to treat it from the inside by focusing on repairing your hormones. Now, for those of you who are not sure what exact hormonal problem they have, I have a free PDF linked in the description with the exact test you should be doing if you want to see what exact imbalance you have, so what exactly is going on with your hormones. I give you the exact test you need to do there, as well as the days in which you should test them. So make sure to check it out. It's completely free, and I can promise it's going to help you. At the same time, I know that not everyone has the possibility to test their hormones. So in this case, I'm going to take the most common trigger, the most common imbalance that causes hormonal acne, and that is an increased number of androgen hormones. In this case, you generally want to take either supplements or medicines that are going to bring those androgens back into their normal limits. If you are a woman, you have a wider range of treatments, because you can also go for things like birth control or spironolactone, which are not necessarily my favorite ones, but they are definitely effective when it comes to lowering high androgens, but they are not suitable for men. So if you are interested in this kind of treatments, make sure to see a doctor that can prescribe them to you. At the same time, both men and women can go for supplements. There are a lot of supplements that can balance hormones and bring androgens back into their normal limits. And just to give you some examples, things like spearmint tea, needleroot extract, licorice is also great, saw palmetto. In my experience, I have seen so much better results when you combine these herbs. So there are certain products that combine them that contain a mix of these herbs and nutrients, and they are a lot more effective when it comes to lowering high androgens and bringing them back into their normal levels. For those of you who are ready to fix their hormones, to balance their hormones, and want a step-by-step routine, I am preparing a masterclass that will give you a really detailed action plan on how to balance your hormones and how to fix your hormonal acne by fighting its root cause, obviously. So if you are interested, I'm gonna link it in the description below. Make sure to check it out. The second type of acne you may have is the one caused by the gut, so by the microbiome. And this usually appears because there is an imbalance between the good bacteria from your gut and the bad bacteria. So ideally, you should have a higher number of good bacteria in your gut compared to the bad ones. But if you are breaking out because of your gut, chances are it is the opposite. So you basically have to repair your gut and bring this balance back to normal. Now, some of the most common signs of gut acne are cystic pimples. So just like hormonal acne, it also causes breakouts that are very aggressive, very red, very inflamed. They leave marks behind. But unlike hormonal acne, it doesn't affect the lower face. Instead, it mostly affects the cheeks. And if your gut is really damaged, so if there is a major imbalance in your gut, it can also appear on the forehead. But it's always the cheeks first. So it's either the cheeks alone or the cheeks and the forehead. It's never the forehead alone. If you only have cystic pimples on your forehead, this is not because of the gut. I also have a detailed video where I talk about how to identify gut acne correctly, what are its main signs and symptoms, so I'm gonna link it below as well. But in this case, your goal is going to be to repair your microbiome and to balance the bacteria from your gut, so to increase the number of good bacteria and to decrease the number of bad bacteria. And the best way to do this are with a mix of probiotics and prebiotics. I know a lot of people recommend probiotics alone, but in my experience, they do not have such a good effect as if you also combine them with prebiotics, which are basically food for those probiotics. So they are going to have a much better and faster effect if they are combined with prebiotics. The biggest problem is that it is pretty hard to find a supplement that contains both, especially one that contains some high-quality probiotics as well as some high-quality prebiotics. You can take two different supplements, so one with probiotics, one with prebiotics. This is a lot easier, but it is at the same time more inconvenient because you would basically have to take a higher number of pills every single day, and you would obviously have to spend more money. I know some of you need a specific product recommendation, and the supplement I have been using and working with is YourBiology. It has by far the best combination of probiotics and prebiotics I have seen in any supplement. I haven't actually seen a product that contains this exact formula, so it has a really good effect, and it's probably my top choice if you want to balance your gut and get rid of your gut acne. Just make sure where you buy it from, because I know a lot of retailers sell fake versions, so you absolutely want to get it from its official website. If you are interested in purchasing it, I'm going to link the official website in the description, so make sure to buy it only from there if you want to give it a try. There are actually a lot more things you can do in order to balance your gut, but I would say that probiotics and prebiotics are definitely the first thing you want to begin with. They are probably the most important step. And for those of you who are ready to heal their gut and fix their gut acne, I'm also going to prepare a specific masterclass with a step-by-step action plan on how to do this, how to heal your gut, and how to get rid of your acne. If you are interested, I am going to link the waiting list below. The third type of acne you might have is actually the one caused by skin fungus or malassezia. I know a lot of people say fungal acne is not a correct term, but I know a lot of you know about this term, so I'm gonna stick with it. So fungal acne is basically caused by a fungus by a yeast called Malassezia that can also cause scalp dandruff, so it also affects the scalp. This is why people who already have scalp dandruff are at risk to develop fungal acne, simply because it is super easy for that skin fungus to migrate onto your face. This is why fungal acne tends to affect areas like the forehead, the chest, the shoulders, and the back, which are generally locations where it's easier for it to get. So it basically falls off from your scalp onto your forehead, onto your chest, and so on. In terms of appearance, pimples caused by skin fungus are generally very small. They can be slightly inflamed, but they are not going to be as aggressive as hormonal organ acne, which generally cause cystic pimples. On the other hand, fungal acne tends to cause breakouts that appear in clusters together. They are very small. They usually have the same dimensions, and very important, they are itchy. This is the only type of acne that is itchy. Now, when it comes to how you should treat fungal acne, in my opinion, it is the easiest form of acne in terms of treatment, and that's because it responds really well to antifungals. So it basically responds great to products that kill, that destroy that skin fungus, which is super easy. This is why it is extremely simple to treat this kind of acne. It's actually harder to identify it. And generally, you want to go for antifungal creams, whether you get one with a prescription or not. My advice is to see a doctor that would be able to diagnose your acne and tell you for sure if this is fungal acne or not. But if you do not have the possibility to get to a doctor, you can also try an anti-dandruff shampoo. Like I said, the yeast that causes scalp dandruff is the same as that causing fungal acne. I'm talking about Malassezia, so obviously a shampoo that is designed for that yeast is going to work really well both on scalp dandruff and also on fungal acne. The fourth type of acne you can have is that caused by oily skin, and this is actually super common in those of you who have an increased production of sebum. If you remember, I mentioned this factor at the beginning. This is why it is super important, because people who have an oily skin type are very prone to develop oily skin acne. The good news about this kind of acne is that it usually causes pimples that are pretty mild. They usually appear as whiteheads and blackheads, so they aren't really cystic as it's the case of hormonal organ acne. In terms of location, oily skin acne tends to affect the T-zone, so mostly the forehead, the nose, and rarely the chin if you have an increased production of sebum there as well. In this case, you're gonna have a lot of sebum on your face, especially in those areas where you are breaking out. You will also have a lot of enlarged pores, not just on your T-zone, but also all over your face. And like I said, this type of acne may seem very annoying because you would basically have to deal with it pretty much all your life if you have an oily skin type. But the good news is that it is pretty easy to keep under control with skincare. So this acne has an external cause. This is why you do not need any internal treatment. Instead, you need a good skincare routine that would keep your sebum under control. And I actually have another video about oily skin acne, about its signs and how you should treat it correctly. The skincare routine will depend on how much sebum you have. My general rule is that the more sebum you have, the more products, the more actives you are going to need to keep your sebum under control. Obviously, this is not always a rule, but I noticed that it is true in a lot of cases. So you want to find a skincare routine that works for you. I'm also preparing a masterclass about how to treat your acne with skincare in case you have an oily skin type. So if you are interested, I'm gonna link it below once it is available. But generally, I recommend double cleansing every single day at night. So this would be step number 1, double cleansing, an active spot treatment, a moisturizer, and an SPF in the morning. You obviously want to exfoliate once or twice a week, not more often, but the exact skincare routine would depend on your own case and on the amount of sebum that you have. This is why I'm saying that it is pretty customized, and it's hard for me to give you a general skincare routine that would basically work for all people with an oily skin type. The thing you need to remember is that if you manage to keep your sebum under control, you will also be able to keep your oily skin acne acne under control. The next type of acne is something extremely similar to oily skin acne, and that's because they overlap a lot of times. I'm talking about bacterial acne, which is by definition caused by skin bacteria, but a lot of people say that it is exactly the same thing as oily skin acne. I don't 100% agree because I know there are some people who develop bacterial acne even if they do not have an oily skin type. However, in most cases, people who have an oily skin type will be at risk to develop bacterial acne simply because an oily skin type and sebum are generally some perfect environments for skin bacteria. This is why if you have this kind of skin type, you are at risk for that bacteria to multiplicate on your face and get bacterial acne. Generally, milder forms of bacterial acne can be kept under control with skincare, so you would basically use the same kind of skincare as you would with an oily skin acne. In some cases, you may have a more severe form of bacterial acne, in which case you would probably need antibiotics, whether we're talking about pills, so oral antibiotics, or topical antibiotics. I strongly recommend you to see a dermatologist in this case, so if you suspect you have bacterial acne, because he would be the best one to diagnose your acne and see whether it is actually caused by skin bacteria or not, and obviously he would be the best one to prescribe you the right treatment. As for the signs, I wouldn't insist a lot of them because generally in bacterial acne, the symptoms are pretty similar to those of oily skin acne. You're gonna have pimples that appear mostly in the T-zone, and most forms of bacterial acne are on the milder side, so they tend to be pretty similar in appearance as with pimples caused by oily skin. Like I said, there are some cases of bacterial acne that are more severe, so they can be cystic, but these do not have a very specific sign. This is why it's pretty hard for me to tell you something very characteristic to them, because if this is your case, I strongly recommend seeing a dermatologist because bacterial acne is not super easy to differentiate, especially if you are talking about a more severe case. The sixth type of acne you can have is that one caused by stress. And this one is also pretty similar to oily skin acne, but the main difference between them is that stress acne mostly appears in those periods when you are stressed, while oily skin acne is more constant. So when it comes to stress acne, the pimples it causes are usually on the milder side as well, so you're generally gonna have whiteheads and blackheads, again mostly on the T-zone. But what you notice is that your sebum production increases in those times when you are under stress. This is why you tend to break out more in those periods. Like I said, when it comes to oily skin acne, these breakouts are more constant, so you don't really notice a difference when you are stressed. You generally break out on a constant basis. This is probably the biggest difference between oily skin acne and stress acne. And when it comes to how you should treat it, your goal should be to keep your stress levels under control first of all, and then to keep your sebum production under control. When it comes to your sebum production, you can pretty much use the same skincare routine as you would use with an oily skin type, because when you are under stress, your body is going to make more sebum, so your skin type will be very similar to an oilier one. This is why the kind of skincare routine that works for an oily skin type should also work for you in those periods. As for managing your stress, this is definitely something you know best, and it's hard for me to give you a really good solution that would relieve your stress, because it's something you need to figure out and to find something that would help you relax and keep your stress levels under control. And the last type of acne you can have is that because of a damaged skin barrier. And in my opinion, this is not a classic acne. This is not an actual acne, but I know a lot of you say you are breaking out because of your skin barrier, and this is why I named it like this. So basically, if you have acne because of a damaged skin barrier, you basically have some pimples that look like an irritation. They are very small, very mild. A lot of times they can be itchy. It's not always a rule, but it can happen. There's going to be some redness, some inflammation, not something major. So this kind of acne is not cystic. It doesn't leave marks behind, but it generally appears like an irritation. This is why it's pretty easy sometimes to mistake it for a regular acne. I also have a video where I help you tell the difference between a damaged skin barrier and real acne. I'm gonna link that below as well. But generally, if you have a damaged skin barrier, you want to avoid exfoliating and active ingredients at all costs, and instead you want to focus on a skincare routine that is based on ingredients that are hydrating, that are moisturizing, that are meant to lock in moisture and to prevent skin bacteria and toxins enter your skin through that damaged skin barrier. I'm also preparing a really detailed masterclass on how to heal your skin barrier and on how to fix this kind of acne. So for those of you who are interested, I'm gonna link it down below. So these are basically the 7 most common types of acne you have, and chances are that your form of acne is also among these. They're not the only one. There are actually a couple of other ones that are not as common, and I have all of them in my course, the Anti-Acne Formula. So I help you identify each of them, and I give you the top signs and symptoms of each of them, as well as a quiz. And once you manage to identify and to find what is the root cause of your acne and what type of acne you have, this course will also bring you a really specific action plan in order to fix it. So for those of you who are still not sure what kind of acne you have, you want to check my course, the Anti-Acne Formula. It has helped so many people and I have had a great feedback about it. So I am pretty sure that it is going to help you find the root cause of your acne and fix it from the inside as well. Now that you know the most important forms of acne, let's get back to our exercise, and I want to analyze the 3 pictures that I gave you before. So let's start with picture A, and here you can see a form of acne that mostly appears on the cheeks. It is not super aggressive, but it is more on the cystic side. So you can see there's redness, there's inflammation, the pimples are pretty severe, and based on this is most likely an acne caused by the gut. So it has an internal cause, and like I said, a mix of probiotics and prebiotics would probably be the best solution in this case. Moving on to picture B, this mostly shows pimples that are not very severe, they're not very aggressive. I think the picture is pretty zoomed out, but if you zoomed it in, you can see that they have pretty much the same sizes. And based on the location, so based on the fact that it appears on the forehead, I would say that this kind of acne has all chances to be caused by skin fungus. At first sight, I would obviously need some more information on this, but at first sight, I would say it is triggered by skin fungus. So in this case, I would recommend either an antifungal cream or a dandruff shampoo. And last but not least, this picture shows an acne that is pretty mild. I would actually mistake it for irritation. So my first thought is that this could be acne because of a damaged skin barrier. You can see there is some redness, but there isn't anything aggressive, anything major. There aren't any cystic pimples, and based on how those breakouts look like, I would say that this is not irregular acne. Instead, there are some pimples caused by a damaged skin barrier. If you look closely, the skin also looks pretty dull and it lacks elasticity and smoothness. Obviously, I don't know how it was previously, but at first sight, I would say that this is a damaged skin barrier and those pimples have appeared because of this, not because of a regular cause of acne. Now, I'm pretty curious what you thought about this exercise and whether you managed to guess the root cause of each of these acne pictures. So in this case, I have prepared for you another exercise. So here you have 3 different pictures of 3 different cases of acne. So I can tell you from the start that each of these forms of acne has a totally different cause. And I want you guys to tell me in the comments below what kind of acne you think that each of them is, and how exactly you should treat it based on my recommendations from this video. I will get back to this video and give you the right answer in something like 48 hours, so stay tuned and don't forget to check the comment section. Let me know if you have any questions about your acne, and also I would love to hear what kind of acne you believe you have based on the signs and symptoms I have presented in this video, so let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to check my course, the Anti-Acne Formula, my free ebook, and also to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok for more daily videos and tips about acne. So until next time, I wish you to stay acne free.